So it's Wednesday. I'm in my living room. Coming out of my head is Pat's camera. He's trying to get a close-up of the hummingbird at the hummingbird feeder that's right there. So when my sister and I were leaving for Hong Kong, as you can imagine, there were lots of plans to make because we were going for 3 weeks. And we had to drive from where I live to Toronto, about a 2-hour drive, to get the plane. The ride was 16 hours. So you have to have toys and stuff for the airplane. And my carry-on bag was overweight. I was worried about that for the airport check-in. And as you know, I generally have problems at airport check-ins, so I had overly prepared. I had slip-on shoes so I could just kick them off easily. My MacBook Pro was ready to be taken out of my carry-on bag. I had all of my stuff like lip balm and lip gloss and hand cream and a tiny toothpaste and stuff like that in a baggie, the right sized kind of baggie. I had given one to my sister, so she should have been ready, but my sister is one who is very independent, and you don't ask those kinds of questions. I had toys and stuff to use on the plane for the 16 hours, blah, blah, blah. But my bag was about 8 pounds overweight for the carry-on. So I was anticipating problems. Anyway, my sister was supposed to arrive at a certain time at my place because she was going to leave her car in our garage, and Patrick was going to drive us to Toronto. So the morning of, we had left approximately 4 hours, maybe 5, to get to Toronto and be there 3 hours in advance, like they ask you to for all overseas flights. And my sister was a little bit late. She got stuck at the train crossing, and she had rush hour traffic. So not too much of a problem, but as you may suspect, I was a little bit anxious. So when she arrived, she had a problem with her luggage, and we had to fix that, and it took about 20 minutes. Oh, and by the way, I also had our lunch ready. I had made our lunch, and we were good to go. So when she arrived, as I said, it was a bit of a frenzy getting her situation with the luggage all fixed up. And in the midst of all of this, with Pat loading the car and us trying to fix her luggage issue, she hands to me a combination padlock, a little one, that's okay for traveling because you can just pop it with a special tool at the bottom, and she asks me to set the combination for it. She had never used it, and it needed to have the combination set. So I look at it and think, oh yeah, I know how to do this, and I take it and I trying to figure it out, and we're in a frenzy, and I put it down because I couldn't concentrate on that, plus the luggage, plus the packing of the lunch, plus all of the rest of it. And next thing I know, we're in the car and away. And I forgot all about the padlock, which I had set on the dining room table. And we arrive in Toronto. I didn't think about the lock one more time from the point that I'd set it on the dining room table. And when we arrive in Toronto and we get to Toronto, we say goodbye to Pat. We find where we need to be for check-in. And there wasn't a lineup. So we looked at each other and said, well, why don't we do it now? Go on the other side. There's all kinds of stuff on the other side of customs and whatnot to look at. And we can just wait on the other side. So here I'm anticipating a huge big problem at customs. We check in. The check-in woman, as I said, there was no lineup. There wasn't a soul. We come up. She doesn't even question me. Well, she didn't even weigh my carry-on bag. She didn't even weigh it. She took our 2 suitcases, checked them in, and said, not a problem. And we hadn't had seats reserved, so she gave us A and C. We were worried about B, and she said, don't worry, the plane's not full. You'll have all of that to yourself. Even better. So far, check-in's gone well. We get to the part where we're going through security, and the guy's got his wand and whatnot, and I've been careful. I'm not wearing a watch. All I have on is my earrings, my chain, and my ring, and none of those things set off an alarm for going through with metal. I was going to take my shoes off. It was planned for all of that, and I arrive, and the guy says, come on through. Nobody is there. We're alone. Not a soul. I keep thinking we're in the wrong place. And the first guy that, gives you the bins to put your shoes and your coat and your purse and your bag and your MacBook Pro out of its bag in the bin to go through X-ray. I'm fussing with all this stuff with my baggie of gel stuff and my shoes off and my coat in a separate thing because I know the rules and I follow the rules. My sister just walks through. She puts her bag on the trolley thing and she walks through. And they motion her through, they give her her bag, she's done. And here I've got one shoe on, one shoe off, the bag in my hand, the MacBook Pro under my armpit, my coat hanging off of me, and the guy just motions me through. I put everything in the bin. He didn't want me to take my shoes off. I go through security, of course nothing alarmed. I was okay with that. I'm expecting to hear all kinds of nasty things. Plus, I've got this wad of Chinese money that's literally this thick, expecting to be challenged over that. Nothing. They pat us on the head pretty much. The guy chides me for doing all of this stuff when they didn't ask us to, and we're done. I've never had check-in, security, and boarding passes as easy as that ever before. So I'm a little sort of shell-shocked by all of that. My sister just looks at me because, well, she thought I was being over-dramatic once again. Anyway, we're through. And we start to wander, and we look at the stores, and we look at the duty-free, and we get drinks, and we sit, and we have the sandwiches that I made, and my sister's not a fan of peanut butter and cheese, which I had, and I made her cream cheese and olives. And we had our sandwiches, and we got a little treat, and we had our drinks, and we go through all of that. And while we're having our lunch, she says to me, "Oh, would you set my padlock for me so that I can lock my carry-on?" She wanted to lock up her camera. I wanted to lock up that big wad of Hong Kong money. So I searched for the padlock, which I thought I had put in my purse. It wasn't in my purse. I took my carry-on bag apart, no padlock. So I said to her, well, I guess I left it on the dining room table. Let's go and buy one. We go to the electronics store. Of course, they have padlocks. They wanted $19.80 for this little padlock. So we both said no, and I said to her she could have mine if she wanted, but come in the long run, we didn't need it at all anyway. So I feel guilty because I didn't have the padlock and I forgot it at home, and that it would have been handy in Hong Kong too, and oh well. We knew in Hong Kong we'd get one probably for 50 cents. So I didn't worry too much about it, but I felt like an idiot because of security and creating such a fuss and, whatnot. And that was all there was at the airport. So on the plane, we go through all of the other stuff about, finding a seat. We were delighted with our seats because We didn't have one in the third middle seat, and we could spread out, and it was terrific. And we're just starting to settle down. We'd been flying for about 5 hours, and both of us were thinking, well, maybe we could try to have a nap, which is impossible on an airplane for me. But we're thinking about trying to do that. And Robin puts the, what do you call it, the mask thing on, and she's got earplugs, and she curls up in her seat. And my sister is like 95 pounds soaking wet, so she fits in those seats. And anyway, she's trying to sleep, and I'm trying to find a place, and the seat didn't go back. It just shifted like this. It didn't tilt so that your head wasn't in somebody's lap. It just shifted. So I was having trouble finding my spot that was comfortable, and pulling the pillow and the blanket around me, and I reach back and I feel a big lump on my breast. And I'm thinking to myself, it startled me. It really startled me. It was a lump that, and I don't normally feel back there, and it was on the back side, under my armpit. And I thought, Jesus Christ, what the hell is that? It was a hard lump, and I had a momentary panic attack. And it was like solid. And I thought, well, I just put my hand under my shirt, and I thought, well, I'll feel it under my bra. And I put my hand in and feel metal. And I pull it out and nearly had hysterics laughing, wake my sister up and hand her, yes, you've got it, I hand her her combination padlock. It took us 10 minutes to settle down after that. So can you believe it? Seriously. All that panic about going through security and x-ray and all of that stuff, not wanting to set anything off, and the padlock didn't even register. I have no memory of stuffing it into my bra. What are you going to do? That's it, that's all.